What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today you can see on screen we have all the sets from Romance Dawn up to OP11, A Fist of Divine Speed. You can see the booster box price, then we have top 1, 5, and 10 values in each set. And we're kind of just going to discuss every single set, compare them a little bit, and discuss maybe which are some of the better investment options right now. Maybe talk a little bit more about long-term, because I think I disagree with a lot of people when it comes to the long-term outlook of One Piece and what you should do right now to capitalize on that if you really do believe in the game long term and you're willing to take on a little bit more risk that way. But we'll get into that. We'll start with Romance Dawn. You can see here the price of a blue bottom is $1,396.07 on TCG Player. And actually the most recent sales are above this. I believe $1,600 from today, July 22nd. I am recording this around 9:30 at night, so it's still the 22nd here, but for you guys it might be yesterday. A couple days before that, 1,500, 1,400, and then everything before that was at 1,400. So it's a legit $1,400 box. It's moving towards $1,500. If we go to eBay, you can see here there's one listing in North America at $1,200 or best offer. And if you open this listing and look, it actually has a massive dent to one of the corners. So after this listing, it jumps right up to $1,500. And then I think after that, it jumps to like $1,600 or $1,650. And you have to respect the value in Romance Dawn. If we go look at this, the top hit, the Shanks manga, $796 approximately. Top 5 value of 1,748. Guys, I can't talk today. And then top 10 value, $2,132 approximately. That is outside the top 3. It's actually outside the top 5, but I think it's the 6th most expensive set in terms of top 10 value. So it is up there. It's the oldest set as well. Blue bottoms are rare. I think the white bottoms are going for like, what, 440, 450 USD on TCG Player. But Romance Dawn, still a very solid set. Outside the Shanks manga, you have the Zoro, you have a Law, you have the Nami, Luffy, Doflamingo, some very popular characters. Also, you have the pre-errata versions of a couple of those cards, which I think will make the blue bottoms more attractive in the future for people trying to open packs and open boxes and chase those. And I am a huge fan of the blue bottom in the future. Now, outside that, we'll kind of look at 02, 03, and 04 in the same time period. We'll just go over them shortly because I think these are fairly similar sets in my opinion. You can see here Paramount War, $195. Kingdoms of Intrigue, $192, and then Pillars of Strength is one of the more expensive kind of mid-tier sets, $229. But when we look at the values in these, and I'll bring them up quickly, Paramount War, you have the Ace manga up top, you have a Smoker, Garp, Edward Newgate, Whitebeard, and then you have Sanji. That's the top 5 cards. Pillars of Strength, you have the Soga King, you have Nami, a Luffy Wanted poster, Charlotte Katakuri, and then Captain, and then Kingdoms of Intrigue, you have Sabo, Boa Hancock, T-Law, Vivi, and then Rebecca. So nothing too crazy in terms of value. When we look at top 10 value, Paramount War is actually above both of these by a decent amount. Kingdoms of Intrigue is the lowest, but Pillars of Strength isn't super far behind. So whenever people ask me about these sets, right, I always view Paramount War as better. And not just because it has the best manga card. I mean, if we're comparing the Ace manga to the Sniper King and to the Sabo, I mean, is far and away the best manga. But even just outside of those, when you look at the top 10 value, it still is the highest out of all of those. So if you're buying any of these boxes, I mean, Paramount War at 195 or Pillars of Strength at 230, it's a no-brainer. Even with Paramount War and Kingdoms of Intrigue being very similar in terms of box price, it still has a higher top 10 value. And it's also an older set. So I would just go for Paramount War over both of those, in my opinion. But if I'm being honest, I think a lot of those sets are actually just quite mid. They're not going to be crazy long term. So I wouldn't be going super heavy into 02, 03, or 04. Now, a set that I would be going heavy into is Awakening in the New Era, OP05. When we look at this set, right now, $233, $235, it's a no-brainer buy, in my opinion. Even at $280, I was very bullish on this set, but at $230, and especially if you guys live in the US near a Bandai store or another store in a different part of the world, and you can buy this at MSRP, absolute no-brainer. I would be loading up on 05. When we look at the value of this set, we'll look at the cards here first. You have the Gear 5 Luffy up top, $2,800 manga card. You have the Luffy Alt Art Ichiro Oda stamped card. We all know that that is amazing and it's on the rise. You have the T-Law, you have the Captain manga card as well. Then you had Nami in there, Yamato, Uta, tons of popular characters. And OP05 is actually across the board in second place in terms of value not just top 1, but top 5 and top 10. It's higher than Premium Booster '01 right now. It's still behind OP09, which makes sense. I mean, Emperor's in the New World, crazy, crazy deep, deeper than '05 in my opinion, but it's up there. It's doing great at $230. I definitely recommend '05. If you can buy it at MSRP, that's just a no-brainer buy. So moving on, we'll come back to '05 here in a bit when we kind of do like a conclusion to this video, but I want to get through most of these fairly quickly. Moving on, we have '06, Wings of the Captain. Not too much to talk about here. It's a decent mid-tier box. I think it's on the higher end of the mid-tier sets. You have the Zoro manga, which compared to a lot of other sets like Paramount War, Pillars of Strength, Kingdoms of Intrigue, then you have OP07, the Boa Hancock. It is one of the better mangas from the mid-tier sets. You have a Buggy in there, Rebecca, you have Nico Robin, Miss All Sunday, and then you have Yamato. That's your top 5. You also have Reiju in there. So some decently popular characters. And you can see when you look at the charts and the values, it is kind of leading the mid-tier sets, if that makes sense. It's nothing too crazy. Wings of the Captain's not going to be like an '09 and just be very, very expensive compared to a lot of these other sets in the future, but it'll do all right. I mean, if you have some exposure to '06, I am a fan of it, but given the option to buy OP06 at $154 compared to a couple other boxes on the list, which we'll talk about here in a bit, I would not be buying '06 currently, unfortunately. So we'll get back to that as well towards the end of the video. I'm rambling at this point, guys. I want to try and keep this short because I know it's going to be a longer video. Memorial Collection, you have the Chopper manga in there. You have the Bond Clay, him as Nami. You have Cavendish, Tony Chopper, Laboon, like some of those still playable cards. But the Chopper is a fairly solid manga. It's still middle of the road, kind of like '06, a little bit worse in my opinion. But you also have that box being a little bit more scarce because it is a special set, kind of like the extra booster instead of a mainline set like '06. Next up, we have OP07, 500 Years in the Future. You have the Boa Hancock manga. You have Onami. You have the Jewelry Bonnie, Doflamingo, Boa Hancock, Vegapunk. Those are your top 6 cards. Nothing crazy in terms of value. Less than Memorial Collection, EBO1, and less than OP06, Wings of the Captain. That said, it's still a much better set than next up, Two Legends. I mean, guys, Two Legends is probably the worst set Bandai has put out, let's be honest, just in terms of the card quality. You have the Silver Israeli manga up top, $271. That is the cheapest manga, I believe, currently. Jewelry Bonnie up there as well, over $100. So, got to put some respect on Bonnie's name. The Ace, $70 as well, not terrible. Tashigi, I like the artwork on that card. Charlotte Pudding, you have a Chopper. So it's not terrible, but just the fact that it doesn't have the big heavy hitters. The top 10 value, only $707, which is pretty pathetic, honestly. I mean, the second lowest is Royal Blood at $850, and then Kingdoms of Intrigue at $860. So it's in last place by a decent amount. Now, this is where we get into some of the better sets. So Premium Booster PRBO1, this is a very, very deep set. And this is kind of where I talked about at the start of the video. You should talk about the top 20 to 25 cards in this set, not just the top 10, because you can see there's lots of Golden Dawns, and they're all very expensive, even outside the top 10 cards, which ends with this Captain. You have a Soga King manga. You have the Golden Dawn at $193. Then you have another one here, 190, 183, 147, 140. So lots of value in PRB 01. When we look at this set compared to everything else, the top hit, which is that Luffy, $1,388. The top 5 value, $3,481 approximately. And then top 10 value, $5,267. That does put it in third place out of all the sets in terms of top 10 value. So fairly decent there. '09 up next. This set, we just had a reprint restock. You can see it came all the way down here into the low 170s, mid 160s. We're now back up to around 187, almost pushing 190 again. You have the Gold Roger up top, $3,044. Luffy manga, Teach manga, Shanks manga, Buggy, Nami, Boa Hancock. We've been over this so many times. It's in first place across the board. It has the most expensive top hit. Currently, the Gear 5 Luffy from OP05 is still very close though, so these could flip-flop based on the day, honestly, and in the future, they might actually flip-flop if we get more OP09 on the market. Top 5 value, $5,900, that's about $600 more than '05, and then top 10 value, almost $6,800. Now we're kind of pulling away from '05, and even from PRB01, like it really is out in first place when you look at the depth. I think PRB01 though does catch up if you look at the top 20, because if we go in here, look at the cards from '09, outside the top 10, which ends with the Shanks, You have the Buggy, the Dragon. Those are kind of expensive. Another few wanted posters, but by the end of the third row, we're already down to this Buggy at 25 bucks. Whereas if you go into Premium Booster 01, you look at the 18th most expensive card, it's 140, almost 141 bucks. And at the end of the fourth row, you have the Gold Dawn Rob Lucci at $94. So PRBO 01, definitely a deeper set than basically everything else in One Piece so far. Now next up, Royal Blood. The booster box is actually back under $100, $98.32 currently. And in here you have the Law manga, which I pulled. That was awesome. Usahachi, Edward Newgate, you have the Sanji, you have Eau Rouge, and then Divine Departure. That's your top 6 cards. Not a ton of value here. We already talked about it being the second lowest top 10 value. And in terms of top hit, it's down there. I mean, it's what, fourth lowest? Fifth lowest? No, fourth lowest right now. But it's very close between the Soga King, the Sabo, and then the Law from Royal Blood. So really not a super strong chase card. Couple more sets here. EBO2, the extra booster. You have the Gear 2 Luffy. Great manga card. You have Boa Hancock. You have the Vegapunk Error. It's actually overtaken this other Luffy, the Alt-Art, which is pulled down slightly. Yamato, Jewelry Bonnie, tons of very difficult to pull leader cards. And when we look at the value of EBO2, it's not terrible. It's outside the top 3. It's actually outside the top 4, but it's 5th highest, which is still fairly decent in One Piece, especially for an extra booster. And with only having a top hit of $1,000, when you look at a lot of these other sets like 09, top hits 3K, 05, the top hits almost 3K, PRBO 01 just has all those gold dawns. And then OP11, which we're going to look at here right now, has that gold Luffy, which is the reprint from OP05, the same artwork. It also has a silver version. You have the Gear 4 Luffy manga, the Luffy Taru, and then you have Sanji, that's your top 5, Shanks, a couple other characters in there. I really like OP11 right now, and you can see lots of value, top 4, and then the top hit is actually the third most expensive card in One Piece that you can pull out of a box right now, $2,421.56. Top 5 value still in third place, and then top 10 value, PRB 01 overtakes it, but it's still up there. And that was a lot of blabbering to set the stage for what you should be investing in right now. So when I think about investing in One Piece, I really do believe it's riskier than Pokemon. Pokemon, it already has a collectible side to the hobby that we know is going to be there. Obviously, we're going through a hype period right now in Pokemon, but even before like late 2024, there were lots of people that went to Collecticon, they opened packs, they, wanted to build their collections, their binders, whatever, not just people playing the TCG. In One Piece, there are a lot of people playing the TCG. It looks like the game is growing, and that's awesome. But in order for this game to succeed long term, in order for sets going out of rotation to have a decent amount of value, we need to have people here that want to collect the chase cards. They want to open the mangas. They really want to try and get a god pack from PRBO 01 5 years down the road, if that makes sense. So although I still believe that there is currently a collector side to One Piece, it's definitely not as big as Pokemon. It's not as, guaranteed, if that makes sense at this point. We'd love to see more collectors come in and want to collect cards, collect Chopper cards or Nami cards or whatever, right? Like that would be where we want to go in terms of investing in this hobby for it to be more secure. And that's kind of the argument a lot of people, when they look at One Piece investing, use as a reason not to be pumping tons of money into some of these booster boxes that are like $200, $300 at this point. They say, hey, just buy an $80 booster box of 2 legends, and you're going to guarantee your gains. It can't go down from here, right? Like it's pretty much at its bottom, and that's true. But if you're here for the long run and you really believe this game's going to pop off in the future, there will be a collecting side. The value is going to be in the boxes that have the best hits. It's not going to be in 2 legends that has a garbage chase card that nobody wants to open. A couple other decent special rares, like we'll give it that, but people are going to want to open 05. They're going to want to open PRBO 01. They're going to want to open 09. Now EBO 2, 11, like those are no-brainers. And Romance Dawn, because it's the original set, you have the pre-errata cards in there, and it's kind of just like the base set, right? It's the first one in the One Piece TCG. And you can see here, I've kind of color-coded a lot of these. Like most of these boxes are under $300. There's only 2 above that price point, which is EBO 1 at $319 approximately, and then Romance Dawn at almost $1,400, which is far and away the most expensive. But most of these boxes are from $100 to $300. Like that's not a huge range if you're looking at this from a long-term perspective. If you're looking at this with a shorter term perspective, maybe 1 to 2 years, Yeah, I mean, it's a huge difference for a box to be $98 versus $296. And that could definitely affect what you choose to put your money into. But long term, I am so confident putting my money into these better sets like '09, like EBO2, like '05. And not all of these are super, super expensive, guys. Like you can be buying OP11 right now, $137 on TCG Player for a top 10 value of almost 4,500 bucks. And it's not like that's going to go to zero. Obviously, I do expect that to come down. I think the Luffy cards will get a little bit cheaper. The set's still fairly new, but that is still going to be up there. It's not like it's going to drop to $1,000 or $2,000 even. It's probably going to be somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 if I had to guess. EBO2, it's a little bit more expensive. I can bring this box up here. A little bit more expensive, around 175 currently, but still like decently solid set. $3,500 in value. I can't remember exactly. Yeah, 3482. Like that's pretty respectable. It's not an '09, it's not an '05, but it's going to be up there. And also, it's an extra booster. We've talked about this multiple times. Bandai has not reprinted their extra boosters yet, their premium boosters. So until they do that, you got to assume that EBO1, EBO2, PRBO 1 and 2, those are going to be a little bit more difficult to find. There's probably going to be less boxes made. And in the future, that's going to lead to a certain level of scarcity that some of these regular mainline sets do not have. So to sum up this video, if you're here for the long term, you're going to see the max gains in sets like OP05. You're going to see it in PRBO1, OP09, even EBO2 and OP11. I think these are going to do fairly well long term. A lot of these other sets like Two Legends, like 500 Years in the Future, OP07, Wings of the Captain, even though I do really like the set, that Memorial Collection, that might be a little bit of an outlier due to scarcity, but a lot of these sets, Pillars of Strength, Kingdoms of Intrigue, a lot of these sets, even Paramount War you can throw in there, they're not going to do as well just because they don't have a crazy chase card. They don't have the depth that people really want to see in a box if they're planning to open it. Like if you're going to spend $200, $300, $400 on a booster box to open, you would hope that there's going to be more than just one decent card in it for you to potentially get, right? Like with '09, there's 12, 15 cards. Same thing with PRBO1, there's 20, maybe even 30 cards that are worth getting. But if you're here with a shorter term perspective in mind, a lot of this isn't going to apply to your investing strategy. And that's completely fine, right? Like people are going to view One Piece differently just based on their confidence level and where they think it can go. And that's cool, right? Like we all have different perspectives in life. We all do things differently. And that's kind of the beauty of life because whatever decision you choose, it's going to give you a different outcome. And that's something I just really enjoy because if we all did the same thing and we all knew exactly what was going to happen, life would be pretty friggin' boring. So I'll leave it at that. I'm planning to do this type of video maybe once every 3 months or 6 months just because new sets come out, markets go up and down, we get reprints, restocks, and prices of the cards change. So a lot of these sets will kind of flip-flop, if that makes sense. You can see there's tons of sets kind of in the middle of the pack. And then even the top sets like '05, '09, we could see the Luffy flip-flop with the Gold Roger and become the most expensive card in One Piece again. So it's always interesting to do this and it keeps everyone informed. If you guys made it this far in the video, I genuinely appreciate you watching. I was rambling way too much tonight, so if you stuck through it all, I genuinely appreciate it. You guys are awesome. If you did get some value of this content, you could leave a like on the video, sub to the channel. That helps out a ton. Thank you if you do plan on doing that. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.